we'll start by chanting Om 3 times, followed by the invocation shlokas. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vedvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Yeah, good morning, everyone. So, as we are covering Tattva Bodha, normally what we start with is chanting the Mangala Acharnam. So, if one of you can go off mute and repeat after me the Mangala Acharnam. Thanks, Pavan. Vasudevendra Yogindram
Vasudevendra Yogindram
Nattva Jnanapradam Gurum
Nattva Gnanapradam Gurum
Mumukshunam Hitarthaya
Mumukshunam Hitardhaya
Tattva Bodho Bhidhiyate.
Tattva Bodho Vidhiyate.
Thank you. Thanks, Pavan. So, here in the very first statement that was made after the Mangalacharnam is what we call as Vastu Sangraha Vakya for the entire book. So the summarization of entire book is Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna Adhikarinam Moksha Sadhana Bhutam Tattva Viveka Prakaram Vakshyamaha. Okay. This is the statement. In there, like we saw that there are three parts. One is Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna Adhikarinam, means for those people who are endowed with Sadhana Chatushtaya, Moksha Sadhana Bhutam, which means that in order to attain moksha, Tattva Viveka Prakaram Vakshamaha. Tattva Viveka Prakaram, the process of Tattva Viveka is going to be taught. So these are the three aspects that is said in the first one. So what we did so far is we covered Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna Adhikara. So what is Sadhana Chatushtaya? That is covered. It started with what is Sadhana Chatushtaya. So it is said like Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka, then Vairagya, Shamadhi, Shatka Sampati, and Mumukshutva. Now, in this, so we have covered all of these, right? So now, this Sadhana Chatushtaya, when we think about, this is not specific to this path of spiritual pursuit alone. It is open for it is applicable for all aspects. Okay, so even whether you are whatever you want to achieve in our life, right? Okay, so whatever you want to achieve, sadhana cheshta sampannatvam is needed. So I used to teach Parihar a long time ago, and I said something in the same lines, and kids are they want to challenges, so they asked a question. Hmm. The sadhana chatushtaya, you're saying that it is needed for everything. How is it applicable to me? Okay, so what do you want to do? And the students were, especially the high school students, they were a little bit naughty, right? So yeah, they said, okay, I want to be a what do you call, like I want to be a garbage truckman. Okay, now tell me how sadhana chatushtaya is important. So if you want to be a garbage truck driver, that means that the garbage truck is huge, and you need to have a license to drive the big, a huge truck. So if you start, so that means what you need to go think about learning how to drive a huge truck. When you want to think, when you think about that, is going to help you with achieving your goal. So that means now let us say playing soccer or something is not going to help you. So you have a viveka between what will take you and what is going to be your obstacle. Then what you need to do, you need to drop off all other activities that are not aligned with your goal of becoming this truck driver. So that is vairagya. Then what happens sometimes, you do get thoughts that, oh, you know what, like I should have done that, I should have done this, etc. Those mind will be, that kind of a mind disturbance, mental disturbance will be there. So that mental disturbance, you need to control that mind, that is manonigraha. However, sometimes this mental disturbance is too much, right? So for example, like if you're on your uh, as you're walking to your work every day, now you're walking past soccer field, and every time you walk past soccer field, then you want to say, oh, you know what, like I should have played soccer instead of wanted to becoming a truck driver. So what you should do, you should avoid seeing that. So the best thing is find an alternate route. So that is dhamma. Okay. Then I will only focus on how to become a truck driver, nothing else. Okay. So that kind of a thing is there, and you're only performing activities that will help you becoming a good truck driver. So that is uparama. And one day you may do well in the class, one day you may not do well in the class, whether it's a theory or practical, whatever, right? So you need to bear that and keep going without not entertaining second thoughts. That is titiksha or forbearance. And you have to have the faith in the teacher and in the books that you are studying, so that you can become a, I mean, like say when he asks you to brake, you should brake. When he asks you to accelerate, you should accelerate. And we are left, we are right, whatever the teacher is saying, you should follow it. That is Shraddha. And when with all of that, what happens is concentration of mind comes, and you're just focused on learning this. That is Chitta Ekagrata, right? Or Samadhana. And finally, like I want to become truck driver. This thought alone will be there and nothing else. That is Mumukshutvam. So this sadhana cheshta sampannatvam, whether it is for secular or spiritual, this is a must. That is something that we see it all across all fields. It is not specific to the spirituality alone. Now the question though is that when we look at the sadhana chatushta sambandhatvam, another question comes is that, I I don't have the sadhana system completely. Okay, I don't have it in full extent. Okay, so am I eligible? So again, the answer is that if you have the sadhana system in 100% of all of those 9 things that are described in here, we won't be sitting here. We will be already what's it term? We'll be already Jivan Muktas. Okay. So that means what but on the other hand, we do have some level of sadhana chatushtayatvam, okay, such as when you say sadhana chatushtayatvam, why do we say we have some level? Otherwise, we won't have woken up on a weekend morning and come across all of this, on a Sunday morning and sitting here, right? So that means that there is a understanding that this is something more valuable to me from in my more than my day-to-day life. So for this reason, I'm going to sacrifice other other things in my life, even though they're small in nature, and I'm going to spend an hour or an hour and a half understanding this, and maybe I may spend like more time with other spiritual pursuits. Okay, so that kind of a thought is there. So there is a little bit of a sadhana system in all of us. So with that, so because of that, we are eligible for, like all of us are eligible to learn this knowledge. Okay. So now we're entering into the second section, which is Tattva Viveka. Okay. So if one of you can go off mute and repeat after me. Tattva Viveka kaha.
तत्त्वविवेकः
Atma Satyam
आत्मा सत्यं
Tat Anyat
तदन्यत्
Sarvam
सर्वं
Mithyeti.
विध्येति.
So Atma is, so simplified translation, okay? Atma alone is truth. Tat Anyat, other than that, Sarvam, everything is Mithyeti, Mithya. Okay? So there are multiple terms, Atma, Satyam, Mithya. So these are the 3 new terms that we are getting in here. And this is what Tattva Viveka is. Now, just like in the book, for the entire book, we said Vastu Sangraha. I mean, the summarization of the entire book is what we said. Sadhana, for people who are endowed with sadhana chitta sampannatvam, for them to reach, attain moksha, Tattva Viveka is being taught. Now, that is the summarization of entire book. Now, within this section, we are dealing with what is this Tattva Viveka. So this is the heart of the book. I mean, heart of the thing, right? So now, what is Tattva Viveka? The essential summary of Tattva Viveka is Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarva Mithyati. So this is again the Vastu Sangraha Vakya, meaning the summarization of this entire section is Atma is alone is truth. Everything else is Mithya. So now this Mithya is an interesting term that we need to understand. Okay. Now, when you look at this definition, Atma Satyam Tadanyat Mithyeti, we have actually seen a similar sentence before in the same book. Okay. When a question about what is Viveka was asked, the question that was asked was Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka Kaha. What was the Viveka? When that question was asked, the answer was Nitya Vastu Vekam Brahma Tad Vyaktam Sarvam Anityam. That was what we studied. So that means Nitya. Nitya means permanent Vastu, permanent object or permanent thing in this whole universe is Brahman alone. Other than Brahman, everything else is impermanent. Now, here, what we are seeing in this one is Atma alone is truth. Other than Atma, everything is Mithya. So, for the people who are not new to Vedanta, right here, Jiva Brahma Aikyata is shown. I mean, like Atma is Satyam, and other than Atma, everything is Mithya. Brahman alone is Nityam, other than Brahman, everything is Anityam. So just keep that in mind. So now let us go to details about what is Atma, what is Satyam, what is Mithya. So Satyam means truth or a fact. Asatyam means false. So in a binary world, either everything is truth or everything is, I mean, like if either something is truth or false. Where is the scope for a third thing? Okay. Why is there's a third term called mithya in here? Okay, so that is a question we need to understand. So from a Vedantic standpoint, we need to understand what is Sat or Satyam. Okay. Satyam, as we said, usually like we translate it as truth. Now, when you say truth, that truth cannot be changing. Okay, from a Vedanta perspective, the truth should not be changing at all. When the truth should not be changing means what? If I say, well, I went, uh, 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 I went to, I don't know, like maybe let's say you ask me a question. Okay, how many books are there in this bookshelf? I said I counted and there are 12 books. Then you counted and you found 15 books. Now, if I tell that answer that, when I counted there were only 12 books, that is not true statement. Okay. Now, so the truth has to be whether you counted or I counted or whoever counted, it has to be 12 alone or 15 alone, whatever that number is. So Vedanta takes this notion a little bit far. Okay. The truth should never change. Truth should never change either because of space, either because of time, either because of objects. Okay, so there is something called as Desha, Kala, Vastu, Aparichinnatvat. Okay, it is not subject to change either because of its location or because of time or because of object. What does that mean? The truth in this country should be same as truth in other country. So that means what? Let us say someone, let's take a simple one, right? Okay, so for example, LGBT people, okay, so gays can marry in US. Now they go to a country like India where gay marriage is not recognized. Now are they married or they're not married in India? What is the status? What is the marital status in India? Okay. So what happened here is that without going, our intent is not to analyze gay marriages, but the thing is that it is valid in some place and it is invalid in some place. Because of that, there is a confusion. So there should not be such confusion. If it is true in US, it has to be true in India. It has to be true in Russia, Africa, everywhere, all over the world. That is one condition. Kala. Kala means, for example, here this is where, like, the absolute true nature is coming into play. If you ask a child, how old are you? Or a person, any person, right? The person said, I'm 30. You ask the same question to the person 5 years later, the person says, I'm 35. Okay. Now, Vedanta doesn't accept that, okay, as truth. Because on one day it is some number, on some other day it is some number. So that is something that is changing, cannot be truth. Truth can never change. Okay. So that is kala. Now, vastu means what? Appearance of one object should not negate other object. Meaning, it is something like this. See, I am seeing this book. Okay. I'm seeing this booklet. Now, something else came into forefront because of which I cannot see book anymore. Okay. So this thing is covered with this thing. Okay. So as a result, this thing has gone to back burner, right? So that cannot be truth. Okay. So that is called vastu parinama. So that means what? What are you thinking about? Oh, I'm thinking about my kids. So right now, my thought process, my mind is occupied with my children. But then something happened, and now I'm thinking about like something happened on the road, and now my attention is on what happened on the road. Now, what am I thinking? I'm thinking about what is happening on the road, because of which the thought about my children has gone back. So that is negated. Okay, so now whatever is truth can never be negated. It can never be negated based on time, space, or objects. This is absolute truth. So the think about the definition. If at all, like we need to write a Vedantic definition of truth, Sachet na badhayet, meaning whatever is, if it is truth, it can never be negated based on anything. Okay, it can never be something that cannot be negated is truth. Then what is asat, meaning false, is it can never be experienced. Truth can never be negated. Asat, sat can never be negated. Asat can never be experienced. Okay. So what are some examples of asat? Okay. Or Vedanta, etc. Say something like uh, like a hands-on a rabbit. Okay, because rabbit doesn't have horns, so it's a horns. Okay, because you never can experience horns on rabbit. Okay, now the thing is that if I have imagined, if I have temporarily imagined that there are horns on the rabbit, or maybe I have seen a TV show, maybe a TV show or an animation show or wherever, a rabbit having horns. Then didn't I experience? Yes. Okay. So now the question is that whatever is false, it can never ever be experienced. Because it can never be experienced, it can never be thought, it can never be said. So that means until now, an elephant with 335 heads and 419 tusks and 12 legs and one tail. Such a thing never existed. It was false until now. But at this moment, the moment I uttered, it existed in my mind. Okay? So now it is not false anymore. It is not asat anymore. So asat means that can never be experienced. So now, what is the definition of truth? As I said, it can never be negated. Asat is never be experienced. But in this world, I experience so many things that can also be negated. For example, I look into the sky. When I look into the sky, assuming that there are no clouds, what is the color of sky? Blue. Okay. But is there blueness in sky at all? No. If there is no blueness in sky, but yet I am experiencing it, so it can be negated and it can be experienced. Both are happening at the same time. That is what is called as mithya. Okay. So mithya, probably the uh, closest translation into English is illusion. Okay. So now, again, let's go back to the definition for a quick second. What did it say? The definition said, Atma Satyam Tat Anyat Sarvam Mithyeti. So everything that I'm seeing other than Atma is Mithya. So now the question is that, how is that uh, anything I see is Mithya? For example, I am looking at you and you are a real person. How can you be Mithya? So this is a question. Now, think about it. You, any of us, as we are here today in this form. This is year 2024. Where were we in 1924? Where is this body in 1924? It did not exist. Where will this body be like this in 2124? It won't. Okay. So what happened with respect to the definition? The truth must exist in all three periods of time. Okay. It should not be impacted by the time. So what happened? We don't exist as in this particular form. So what we are seeing at each other is mithya. So from the time perspective, the entire universe is negated, okay, just by time alone. Now desha. Now also from a perspective of desha, from a space perspective also, it has to be truth. So if you see any of us, okay, I'll just pick myself, right? So see, like you're all, I hope you're all watching the video. If you're watching the video, you see that, okay, so my body starts here and ends here in this manner. So here in this section, my body doesn't exist. In this section, my body doesn't exist. In this section, my body doesn't exist. So what happened? What existed here, it did not exist here or here or here. Hence, it is failing the test of space. So Venkat existed only in this place and not in the other place. So because of that, he can be negated. Okay. So now you are looking at a screen and you are looking at me. Now there is a very minor interruption at your home or whatever, and you just turn away your face. Okay, and you looked up at something. Then what happened? Was Venkat there? No. Okay. Instead, some other object is there. So what happened? Because of another presence of another object, Venkat disappeared. So then what happened? Vastu also failed. Okay, so that means that another object overpowered Venkat and Venkat did not exist. So even though Venkat was experienced, Venkat was negated by the presence of another object. So it failed all three tests, not just one. Okay, but whereas it has to pass all three tests. Okay, so Atma alone passes all these three tests. Everything else is going to fail all these. Like at least one of these three tests. Okay, so now we understand the concept of what is Sat, truth, what is Asat, false, and what is mithya. Okay, that is in between. Now, obviously, like as I was saying, right? Sometimes it's actually more fun. No, not sometimes, but it is definitely more fun to teach high schoolers because they won't have filter and they want to challenge any new idea, right? So they keep asking a lot of questions. So then a question would come, I don't experience self now, so how can it be truth? Okay, you are saying that at least I'm able to see something right now. Okay, you are saying that is mithya, but how many of us have seen Sat, as in Atma? Never ever. Okay, so how is it that you can say that I am truth? Okay, self is truth, Atma is truth. So the reality is what we are, none of us have direct experience of self, doesn't mean that we don't have experience of the self. It is something like this. Okay. The very fact that I'm able to ask such a question, who am I? Where is self? Means it is proving the presence of self. Okay. For example, if it is a rainy day and it is a cloudy day. Okay. Now it is a rainy, cloudy day, of course, daytime. And for a brief period, the rain stopped, but it is like dark clouds are there all over. Okay. So now you go out and look for the sun. Can you see sun? No. Now, can you see clouds? Yes. Okay. Now, how did you see clouds? There is no sun. Understand? I mean, like, I cannot see the sun, but the fact that I am able to see the presence of rain clouds is due to the sunlight, even though the sun is not visible. Are you able to follow? The only reason why I'm able to see the clouds is, even though I don't see the sun, because of the presence of the sunlight, I'm able to see. So while I don't have the direct vision of the sun, I have the vision, I have the indirect vision of the sun through sun rays. In the same way, even though I say that I don't experience self, okay, even though I don't have the direct experience of the self, I do have the experience of self. Okay. So now this thought process, again, the entire text, we are going to go through this in little bit in detail, like one piece at a time. Okay. So at this point, probably it is enough for us to understand. Right now, there's a definition. Atma is Satyam, Tadanyat Sarvam Mithya. Okay. Other than Atma, everything else is Mithya. This is what has been mentioned. Now the question is this, what is this Atma? Okay, so that is the next question. Okay, can one of you please go off mute and repeat after me. Atma kaha?
Atma kaha?
Sthoola,
Sthoola,
Sukshma,
Sukshma,
Karana,
Karana,
Sharirat,
Shareerat,
Vyatiriktaha,
Vyatiriktaha,
Pancha,
Pancha,
Kosha,
Kosha,
Atitaha,
Atitaha,
San,
San,
Avastha,
Avastha,
Traya,
Traya,
Sakshi,
Sakshi,
Sat,
Sat,
Chit,
Chit,
Ananda,
Ananda,
Swarupaha,
Swarupaha,
San,
San,
Yaha,
Yaha,
Tishtati,
Tishtati,
Sa,
Sa,
Atma.
Atma.
Okay, so it says Sthoola Sukshma Karana Sharirat Vyatiriktaha Panchakoshatita San Avasthataya Sakshi Satchidananda Swarupa San Yas Tishtati Sa Atma. So this is the definition of Atma. So this is a very comprehensive definition. Okay. So now, so here there are so many words that are used. Okay. Let us see the different categories first. Okay. Sthoola Sukshma Karana Sharirat. Okay, so apparently there are Sharira means body. Okay, so apparently there are three bodies: Sthoola, Sukshma, Karana. So Sthoola Sukshma Karana Sharirat Vyatiriktaha. Vyatiriktaha means other than, opposed to, other than these three bodies. Pancha Koshatitaha. So that means there are five. Pancha means five. Kosha. We don't know what that kosha is right now. Okay. Pancha kosha. So there are five koshas. Atitaha. Other than five koshas. Okay. Then avastha. Avastha means some kind of a state. Okay. Avastha traya. Traya means three. Other avastha traya sakshi. Sakshi means witness. One who is witnessing three states. Okay. Sat Chit Ananda Swarupaha, whose Swarupa means nature, is Sat, Chit and Ananda. Sun is being, okay. Yes, Tishtati, whatever is there, Sa Atma, that is Atma. Okay, so this is the definition. So what happened? Sthoola Shareera, Sukshma Shareera, Karana Shareera. We don't know what these three are. Okay. Then Panchakosha. We don't know what these Panchakoshas are. Avastha Traya. Then there are three avasthas. We don't even know what those three avasthas. Okay. Then Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. At least we got like a little bit of a glimpse of Sat, but we don't know full Sat and Chit and Ananda. So we need to understand all of this to understand what is Atma. Okay. So this is a big picture that has been drawn, right? So again, this is one of the comprehensive definitions of Atma and very beautiful definition. So now let us look at how to say, like different sections. So there are three different sections in this statement. Sthoola Sukshmana Karana Sharirat Vyatiriktaha. Panchakoshatitaha San. Okay, so all of this, okay, this is one part. Okay. Avasthatraya Sakshi is another part. Satchidananda Swarupaha is third part. Okay. Why are you breaking it up like this? There's a reason. What it is said is, in the first statement, okay, if you actually like underline this part, right? From Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirat Vyatiriktaha Panchakoshatitaha, what it is saying is that it is different. Atma is different from Sthula Sukshma Karana Shariras and five koshas. These 8 things, okay? 3 plus 5, 8 things. It is different from this. It's other than this. Then the second part is saying, oh, it is a witness of 3 states. And the third statement is saying it's complete nature, actual nature, which is Satchitananda Swarupa. It's Saswarupa, meaning it is actually the actual nature. So this definition has 3 parts. Okay. One is what it is not, then what it is doing, and what is its essence. These are the 3 parts that is it is defining in 3 different ways. Okay. So there are some exclusions of what it is not, defining something what is in its proximity, and is explaining the essential nature. Okay. So here, let us understand each part, right? Okay. Let us understand the definition. So the first part, okay, defining what it is not is what we call as Atatvavritti Lakshana. Means what it is not is explained first. So, for example, think about this, right? Mm, if so, it's actually like I'll use one of Puja Gurudev's example. Okay, so once he says, then let's say, go meet Rama Rao. Who is Rama Rao? Oh, Rama Rao is a dark. Okay, let's put it this way. Rama Rao is not a North Indian man. Okay. So Rama Rao is not a North Indian man. What does it mean? It means he is South Indian. Now, Rama Rao would be wearing, today he would be wearing a red shirt with white stripes. Okay. And he is bald, and he has a big tattoo here, which is a star tattoo. Okay. So now what happened is that in this, when we said that he is not a North Indian, what happened? All the North Indians are, okay, oh, by the way, I apologize. We do have non-Indian people are saying this, right? So, so when we say he's not a North Indian, so that means that obviously Rama Rao is an Indian name, so he must be a South Indian. So what happened is that in among the universe, among the entire world, okay, people from all other countries are eliminated, including North India. So that has given. So we are looking for a South Indian trait in a person. Okay. Now, when it is said that he is, so this is Atat Vyavritti Lakshana. Okay. So then what happened? He is wearing, today he is wearing a red shirt with white stripes. Right? Now this in Sanskritam is called as Tatastha Lakshana or Kakataliya Lakshana. Okay? Tatastha means it happened to be doing this. Okay? So what does it mean? It happened to be because today Rama Rao is wearing a red shirt with white stripes. Does it mean that he'll always be wearing red shirt with white stripes? No, tomorrow he could be wearing a yellow shirt or a white shirt. Okay. But today he happened to wear this. Okay. So this is called like Tatastha Lakshana. So this is only valid for some portion. Okay. So what is that? Avastha Traya Sakshi. So there are three avasthas. Okay. There are three avasthas. And because these avasthas are there, someone is witnessing these avasthas. When these avasthas are not there, there's nothing to witness. So then this Atma is not witnessing anything. Okay. So this is not the essential nature of Atma. That is the idea here. Okay. So this is the Tatastha Lakshana. But why does it help is that, like, when I'm looking at hundreds of people, okay, who are South Indians, this red shirt with white stripes helps me narrow down to maybe among those 100 people, maybe 2 or 3 people may be wearing this red shirt with white stripes. Then when you say that, okay, this person is bald, okay, it cannot be like he's bald today and then he's not bald tomorrow. If he's bald today, tomorrow also he'll be bald. Day after tomorrow also he'll be bald. Okay. And if he has a permanent tattoo of a star or something like that, okay, it is kind of like a what you call, like in US, it is probably equivalent to like having a social security number and identifying a person based on a social security number, right? So it is it is all a very specific thing. Okay, so with this you can actually identify who this person is. So that is the Swarupa Lakshana, I mean defining the term as it is, definition by defining the term as it is, which is Sat, Chit and Ananda. Okay, so we haven't, by the way, like even though we spoke quite a bit, we're only trying to analyze the structure of this sentence. We are not going in detail about anything of this, what is Atma yet. Okay, so we are just analyzing the definition. This has got Atatvyavriti Lakshana, what it is not. Sthula Sukshma Karna Shariras, it is not Sthula Sukshma Karna Shariras, it is not Panchakoshas. It is Tatastha Lakshana, there are three avasthas, and it is a Sakshi for, meaning it is a witness for these three avasthas. Avastha means state. Okay, there are three states, and it is a witness of three states. Tatchit Ananda Swarupa. Okay, now this is what it is. Its true essential nature is Satchidananda Swarupa. That is Atma. That is what has been defined. Now what happened is that now the question comes, right? What is Sthula Shareera? What is Sukshma Shareera? What is Karna Shareera? What are these Panchakoshas? What are these? Okay, so now let us look at each of them, and then we'll come back to the definition of Atma. Okay, so the student here is asking question now. Okay, can someone go off mute? Sthoola Shareeram Kim
स्थूलशरीरं किं
Panchikruta
पञ्चीकृत
Pancha
पञ्च
Mahabhutaihi
महाभूतैः
Krutam
कृतं
Sat
सत्
Karmajanyam
कर्मजन्यं
Sukha Dukkhadi
सुखदुःखादि
Bhogayatanam
भोगायतनं
Shareeram
शरीरं
Jayate
जायते
Asti
अस्ति
Vardhate
वर्धते
Viparinamate
विपरिणमते
Apakshiyate
अपक्षीयते
Vinashyati
विनश्यति
Iti
इति
Shadvikara
षड्विकार
no, Shadvikaravat
षड्विकारवत्
Etat
एतत्
Sthula
स्थूल
Shareeram.
शरीरं.
So now, obviously, the student is intrigued by this. What exactly is this Sthula Shareera? That is another question that is asked. So remember, like even though we defined what is Atma, we are not going into the definition of Atma right now. So keep that in the back. Okay. So when we define Sthula Shareera, Sukshma Shareera, Karna Shareera, Avastha Traya, Panchakoshas, Satchitananda, then we'll come back and put all of it together. Okay, assemble it. Okay. So now Sthula Shareeram Kim means then Sthula basically in Sthula Shareeram, the literal translation of Sthula Shareeram is gross body. Now when we say gross, okay, this is not like even though it spells identical, it is not like, when especially our children say, oh, it's so gross. Okay, it's not like that kind of a this. Okay, so where here gross means physical. Okay, so in Vedanta, whenever we in any of our Vedanta, whenever we use gross, it means physical, means physically appearing. Okay, physically whatever that can be perceived by our five senses is called as gross. Whatever is there but cannot be perceived by our five senses, it is called as subtle or sukshma. Okay, so sthula means gross, physical, that can be perceived by our senses, one or other senses. Okay, sukshma is, it is there but it cannot be perceived by our senses. Okay, so we call it as subtle. Okay, so now the question is Sthoola Shareeram Kim. What is the Sthoola Shareera? Okay, so Sthoola Shareera is something that we can see. Okay, now if it is as we said, if it is a physical body, then it must be made by physical elements. Okay, now it said the very first state, the first word that is used is Panchikruta Pancha Mahabhutaihi. Panchikruta Pancha Mahabhutaihi. So we, in our Hinduism, if you are a first time learner of Vedanta, okay, we have the concept of Pancha Mahabhuta. Pancha means 5. Mahabhuta. Okay. Bhuta means not, in some languages, Bhuta means ghost. Okay, not that kind of a thing. Okay. The reason why actually ghosts are called as Bhuta, because they are elemental in nature. They are elements. Okay, they are one with the elements. Now, Pancha Mahabhutas means there are 5 great elements. Okay. Now, these 5 great elements are not, they are not same as the periodic, the elements that we study in periodic table in physics. Okay, because we have 108 or 120 or something physical elements are there in our, like starting from hydrogen, etc. These are not that ones. Okay, so when we say elemental this way in Vedanta, it has a different meaning. There are 5 elements. They're called space. Okay, we call it Akasha. So Akasha sometimes is translated in like in our mind, Akasha, in some languages Akasha means sky, but Akasha means space. Okay, Vayu, air. Okay, then fire. Okay, Agni, then water, Apaha, and Prithvi. So Prithvi, again, just like when we say Akasha means sky, is a like that's how we think sometimes. In the same as when we say when we hear Prithvi, we think about earth. But in Vedanta, Prithvi means not earth. Prithvi means it is solid matter. That's all. Okay, so that means even moon is also Prithvi. Okay. Now, I don't know if sun is solid matter or not. If sun is a solid matter, then sun is also Prithvi. All planets are also Prithvi based on this definition. Okay. So now, why these are called elements is because everything is made up of these, like a combination of these. Okay. So for example, as a human being, there is space in me. There is some water in me. There is some air in me. There is some fire in me, as well as, of course, there is some solid material also in me. Where is fire? Because of fire only, there is a heat being generated in my body. If I take temperature of my body right now versus the temperature of room, the temperature of the body is higher than the temperature of the room, which means that there is a fire in my body, meaning there is a heat generating mechanism in my body is there. Okay, so all these 5 elements, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi. Okay, so all these 5 elements are there in me. Okay, so now these are Pancha Mahabhutas. Okay, now Panchikruta is there. Okay, Panchikruta, again, what is Panchikruta means? It is something that has gone through the process of a very specific term called Panchikarana. Okay, this Panchikarana actually is a very technical term in Vedanta. It actually comes from one of the Upanishads. Okay, so where it is said that, actually it comes in several Upanishads, where it is said that these elements on their own state cannot mix and match with each other. Okay, so for example, if think about even in the physics, we study something like this, right? If there is H2, like if there is hydrogen and oxygen, they don't automatically become water. The presence of hydrogen elements and oxygen elements, they don't become water automatically. When do they become water? Is when they loan or give something and take something. Okay, there's a give and take where some, what are those electrons of hydrogen goes into oxygen, something goes from, some electrons of oxygen goes into hydrogen, then they become H2O. Okay, Then a compound is formed. From two elements, hydrogen and oxygen, a new compound, a water molecule is formed. In the same way, what happened is that in their original state, these five great elements cannot interact with each other. So it is said in our Vedanta, we'll actually study that one also later in Tattva Bodha, okay, in a later section. But for now, think about 10%, like actually to be precise, 12.5% from each of these elements are taken and mixed with everything else. Okay, so that means at the end, what happened is when we say space, it's only 50% is the actual space. Then there's 12.5 from air, 12.5 from fire, 12.5 from earth, 12.5 from what did I miss? Okay, anyway, like 12.5 from rest of the four together became modified and or maybe you can call it refined space. Like that, everything is refined in this manner. It is called as Panchikruta. Okay, so Panchikruta means a technical process which we are going to learn about. Again, this is something that we are going to push later. Okay, Pancha Mahabhutaihi, five Mahabhutas, Krutam. So that means this physical body is made up of these Pancha Mahabhutas. If this physical body is made up of Pancha Mahabhutas, then there are the different Pancha Mahabhutas that made your body and different Pancha Mahabhutas that made my body is another question. Is my body, but because if they're made with the same Pancha Mahabhutas, then why is my body different from your body? Okay, why is my situation different from your situation? Okay, why am I like this versus why are you like that? Okay, so now these need to be understood. Okay, so that part we are going to cover in our next session. Okay, so we will pause here. If there are any questions, we'll let us address those questions now. Malini, I have a question. Yeah, please unmute yourself. I may not be able to see all faces. Sorry.
Venkaji, Hari Om. So, you taught us about Satyam, Asatyam, and Mithya today.
Mm-hmm.
Where does the term Tattvam fit into this? Is it different from Satyam, or is it the same, or are they related?
Tattvam, you said?
Yes.
Tattvam means essential nature.
Okay.
Okay, so
it's different from the term Satyam.
Yeah. Satyam, Sat, Chit, Sat, Asat, and Mithya. Okay, so these three are related. Okay, related in the sense they are three different categorizations, right? Sat means that can be experienced but never negated. Okay, Asat means it can never be experienced, and Mithya means it can be experienced and still be negated. Okay, Tattva, so like when we are studying Tattva, and the thing is that we are studying Tattva Viveka Prakara. Okay, in the Tattva Viveka Prakara, what is it said is, what is this Tattva Viveka? Means Atma alone is Satyam, everything else is Mithya. Now, why Tattva word is used means what is the essential nature? Okay, what is the essence of everything? Okay, so that is what we are trying to understand. When we are trying to understand what is essence of everything, Atma alone is essence of everything. That is what we are trying. We are going to conclude.
Okay. So this definition of Satyam is very different from what we learned in the earlier book that Pujya Gurudev had written when we read about self-unfoldment. That had a chapter where Pujya Gurudev talks about Satyam, Brahmachari, and So that's very different. But this is the Vedantic definition of Satyam. And maybe is my understanding, is that correct? Like,
So there, Satyam is described as a value.
yes.
So Satyam, there we studied as part of values there. So there, what happened is that what is the role of truth in our life? That is what like Pujya Gurudeva was describing, right? Sat, both at a physical level, as in like, our day-to-day usage of truth, right? Being true, like speaking truth is one level of Satyam, okay? Staying truthful is another level of Satyam, right? And being truthful for ourselves is another level like that. I mean, like he was, so at the goal of self-unfoldment is for someone who doesn't have any Vedantic background, for them to bringing closer, right? So that's why Puja Gurudev, I don't recall exactly like what Puja Gurudev said specifically there, but the goal there is that, okay, so to bring them closer to truth as opposed to explaining the absolute truth in the text.
Thank you. Yeah, so any other questions? Please go. Feel free to go unmute and.
So, Tattvam and Sat are very similar. They're almost the same.
No.
Okay.
Tattvam is your essential nature, right? Your essential nature may be truth, okay, Satyam, but Tattvam, think about this, right? What is the essential nature of water? If you think about it, what is the essential nature of water? It is wetness, okay? If you remove wetness from water, then it is not water anymore, okay? So what is the essential nature of fire? Okay, actually, this may be a better example than water. Okay, if I say like what is the essential nature of fire, you can see what fire in red color sometimes. You can see fire in yellow color sometimes. You can, in fact, on gas stoves, you see fire in blue color. Okay, so the color of fire doesn't define what fire is. Okay, because of different colors are there. But on the other hand, in all these three types of fire, what is the commonality is the heat. Okay, if we remove heat from fire, there is no more fire. Okay, it is not fire anymore. So the essential nature, the tattva of fire is what? Heat is the tattva of fire. Okay, so that is the tattva. Okay, the essential nature of fire is heat. Now, that has nothing to do with truth or non-truth.
Okay.
Okay, but here, when we are studying the Vedanta, what happened is that what is the essential nature of entire universe is something that we are trying to understand. Okay, entire universe and entire me and God. That is something that we are trying to understand. And that is where the Atma alone is truth. Other than Atma, everything else is not truth. Okay, so this is the essential nature of this universe. That is what the text is telling us.
I understand. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. So if there are no questions, we'll conclude. पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thanks everyone. Have a great week and we'll see you next Sunday.